Exchange. Tuning in. This is the Night of the Yarn Exchange, Jonesborough, Tennessee's original storytelling radio hour. With me is co-host Lori Olmstead.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Leon. It is an exciting night tonight. Spring fever is taking over in so many ways.
In Jonesborough, springtime is when the whole town wakes up.
Just like the flowers blossoming and all the plants poking their heads out of the ground, all the Jonesborough activities start popping up.
Music on the Square is starting back up with free music concerts on Main Street every Friday. That's my favorite way to start the weekend.
The farmers market begins again. Although we now have the Boone Street Market store open year-round, the weekly farmers market on Saturday mornings is my favorite way to begin my Saturday. Meeting friends, listening to the music that's always playing, having a cup of coffee, shopping from my favorite vendors and friends who have farmed everything I need for my locally grown menu for the week.
The Heritage Alliance Salvage Warehouse opens again.
The town wrestling starts next week.
I always go see the storytellers each week.
That's right, Summer, not to mention all the special things that happen here. The Garden Gala is coming up soon, now going into its 19th year, and we've got stories about its roots, how it started, and all the ways it has helped people in our town and, well, far-off places too. See how rooting the right kind of flowers, plants, trees, and artwork in yarns can make a beautiful difference in lives.
And let's not forget a taste of Jonesborough. I always look forward to that.
There's no question that springtime kicks the whole town into high gear.
Achoo! It also kicks my allergies into high gear. Achoo! I've really got spring fever. Achoo!
And what would springtime be without stories of falling in love?
Oh, brother. Well, before we get to any of that, we want to take this time right now to thank our sponsors. This program is brought to you with generous support from Crest Point Health.
Tonight's show is also brought to you by the makers of parsley. Yes, parsley, that smooth, easygoing flavor that enhances every meal. Sprinkle it on or garnish a dish.
It just tastes better with parsley.
And we are also sponsored by Frozen Toast. Moms, do mornings come too early for you? Then frozen toast is the answer. From the freezer to the toaster, what could be simpler than frozen toast? Hit it, kids.
It's a representation from coast to coast.
What do you want for breakfast, kids?
Frozen toast.
Well, I, for one, am really excited about the upcoming Garden Gala. The time of year when some of the most elegant homes in Jonesborough open their garden gates and welcome people into their gardens.
What's so special about that?
We have a garden in our yard. Most of my neighbors do too.
That's true. Jonesborough residents do keep gardens, but I'm talking about the super special ones.
That's right, Lori. I look forward to the garden gala every year to get great ideas to bring into my own garden.
But I still want to know what's so special about them.
Well, Claire, have you ever seen a miniature railroad running throughout an entire backyard through flowers and ferns and trees?
Have you ever been transported to another country?
Have you ever seen a fairy garden and gotten a glimpse of a wing?
The gardens on the tour are more than your ordinary rose bushes and zinnias. They are magical places, some traditional English gardens, some filled with artwork or railroads, some mixed with vegetables, flowers, and shrubs. But each of them is a unique reflection of their owners.
You know, Sarah, the Garden Club Gala was started before you were even born.
And it was started by the Schubert Club, which has been going for longer than anyone here was born, probably before anyone's grandparents were born. The Schubert Club of Jonesborough has deep roots in this community.
No pun intended, I'm sure. Now, I know all about the garden gala. I've been going with Pam for about 15 years now, but what I want to know is, what the heck is the Schubert Club?
Leon, we already told you. The Schubert Club started the garden gala.
Along with the Tuesday Garden Club's help, of course. But the Schubert Club spearheaded it.
No. I know they started the garden gala, but what I want to know is, what are they? What do they do? The way I hear folks talk about it, it's some kind of a secret society. I've watched a couple of ladies from the Schubert Club when they greet each other, trying to figure out if there's a secret handshake. There were some here last year, and I just know that we're doing that.
Tell you what, Leon, to help us get to the bottom of the Schubert Club mystery, why don't we ask our local expert on just about everything with historically deep roots in our community? I think it's time to bring in an expert.
Good thinking. Now for this month's segment of Ask the Historian, we bring our own Deborah Montanti to the stage so we can ask the super important question.
What the heck is the Schubert Club?
You know, Leon, if I tell you, I'm going to have to kill you. Seriously, the Schubert Club has incredibly deep roots in Jonesborough, and we are proud of every single inch of them. It all started in 1896 when a group of young women decided to get together in each other's homes and share their love of music and art and literature. And they'd hold grand receptions, and every meeting would feature a program by one of the young ladies dealing with art or literature or music. But you know, after a couple of years, they decided they could do so much more. And in 1899, the Schubert Club joined the Tennessee Women's Federation of Women's Clubs. And that started it all. The first project that they did was the Jonesborough Library. The library had actually been formed in 1896 by the local chapter of the Women's Christian Temperance Movement. But when the Schubert Club took it over, it went to a whole new level. They raised funds, they purchased books, they did everything, provided all of the women power necessary to keep that library open.
Thank you, Deborah, for once again setting us all straight.
Yes, but thanks for all that, but let me ask you this. What about the secret handshake? Do y'all have one?
Leon, I have no idea what you're talking about. Now, Marcy's a member, and she can tell you all about the Garden Gala, because it was really her idea.
What was that? What are you doing? I'm sorry. Didn't you folks see it? It was a secret handshake. I knew it.
Come on over here now, Leon. Marcy's going to tell us about the garden gala.
But the secret handshake, I almost saw it.
It's okay, Leon. We can make up our own secret handshake. It's going to be all right.
Yeah. We'll make our own secret handshake, and we won't let anybody else know.
Leon, we're broadcasting right now on WETS with 50,000 listeners. I think you just shared our secret with just about everyone in the Tri-Cities area and half of southwestern Virginia.
See, Leon, that's why men aren't in the Schubert Club. They can't keep a secret.
You're telling me. Well, one thing we don't want to keep a secret is how this all started. And Deborah was right, Marcy. You came up with the idea. How did that happen?
The Schubert Club of Jonesborough determined they wanted to raise money and needed a fundraiser. This was 19 years ago. Tammy Moore, who owns the Blair Moore House, was the first chairman of the Garden Gala.
The idea was that homeowners would open their gardens to the public, and there would be a tea. Well, you can imagine, when the opportunity came to go see those gorgeous gardens that most of us had only wondered about as we walked by them, just catching a glimpse of a rose or a wisteria or some odd piece of art.
Hey, I resemble that remark.
The public just flocked to their gates. There was a demand to hold another garden gala the next year and the next. Then it grew so big, we had buses coming from Chattanooga and Knoxville. It was becoming a major town event, and the Schubert Club is only 35 members. They needed more support.
That's when the Tuesday Garden Club teamed up for the event.
What makes it so special is how different each garden is, depending on the home. You know, because of the historic value of Jonesborough and all of the different styles of architecture, the different eras, as well as the personalities of the people who live in these historic homes. You never know what you might see when you enter the gates and walk in.
Some have more narrow yards, some larger. There's such a variety of plants and trees and flowers. They use and recycle things into their gardens that you normally wouldn't see in the suburbs.
A lot of these recycled things are items you can pick up at the Salvage Warehouse, which is run by the Heritage Alliance.
I've gotten some old doors and windows from there, and I put them in different places in my yard. We actually walk through a doorway and into another world with a special garden built on the other side of the door. One garden leads to another.
They have visuals. You turn around and there's a ladder in the middle of the garden with things on it, or planted window frames and fountains where you wouldn't normally see it.
Deb and I have more garden than yard. We have an organic friendship garden based on love and trust. We're friends and neighbors that might not have their own garden space, might not have the resources. They put in what they can and they take out what they need. Not a bad model for a community, eh?
During the summer, I just step outside and pull beans, gather lettuce, pick a few flowers, maybe some carrots and tomatoes, set my table, and dinner is served.
Or how about a vegetable garden in the middle of a flower garden? When I saw that, I thought it was weird. But now I've got my tomato plants next to my marigolds, and I've got zinnias and pepper plants right next to my parsley. Peppers taste better than ever because of it.
Well, let's not forget my favorite part. There's a beautiful tea which comes with the cost of the ticket. Oh, it's so beautiful, doilies everywhere. There's a musician and the tables are beautifully dressed with tablecloths and, of course, fresh, beautiful flowers.
You know, the work each family does to get their garden ready for the tour is incredible. Not to mention the expense. It's such a gift they give to the community, and they do it without compensation. Just another thing that makes Jonesborough so special. People really care for and love this place.
Every year after the gala, I take home at least 2 or 3 ideas.
What's your favorite garden?
Oh, that's hard to say.
It sure is.
I don't think anyone can pick a favorite, especially since they're different each year.
I think I find a new favorite every year.
I, for one, like Miss Virginia Kennedy's garden. She has great gardens. It's a magical place.
Cheryl and John, next door to us, well, I feel really lucky being their neighbors because I get to see their gardens all the time. They've got a fully dressed picnic table and chairs. They have those special doorways and windows located throughout the different areas in their yard. Going through their garden is an outdoor adventure that you'll want to bring your camera to capture.
Who's going to be my favorite this year? I don't know, but I just want to say thank you, Don, Deb, John and Cheryl, Virginia Kennedy, and everyone else, putting stained glass windows, ladders, repurposed antiques, artwork, flowers, trees, and pottery, and for transporting us to another world through your gardens.
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Marcy. I just want to shake your hand.
Nice try, Leon.
Folks, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to A Night with the Yarn Exchange on WETS 89.5 FM.
And we're back. Folks, you're in for a real treat right now. Up next, we've got a real favorite. Help me welcome to the stage, Rockingham Road.
Thank you very much. This next song is an original that probably didn't deserve to be written as a bluegrass song. I've been trying to write a sappy love song for a long time and wasn't getting anywhere with it. And I heard about this kid that was in the ETSU bluegrass program. He was a great banjo player, but he never seemed to have an instrument with him. Always borrowing somebody's and just burning it to the ground. I couldn't figure out how he learned to play without having an instrument to practice with. Then I heard the story. It turned out he was from Georgia, and his girlfriend talked him into going to Boone, North Carolina, and he didn't have the money to make the move, but he had this nice 1951 Gibson Master Tone banjo that was worth more than my house, with or without the wheels on it. And he sold it on eBay for the money to make the move, so sure enough, 6 weeks after he gets there, she dumps him. And I thought, man, that's the best heartbreaking woman bluegrass thing I've ever seen. But I know I can write my song now. I probably can't remember it now that I'm on stage and without the people around. But it's called Flat Broken Blue. And because he was flat broken blue in the hills of North Carolina. Here we go.
That was just terrific. Don't worry, they're going to be back a little later in the show.
You know, Leon, with all this talk of gardening, it's put me in mind of one of my favorite segments of the show.
You're right, Lori. We might only hear about the garden gala once a year, but every month we can look forward to Ashley and Sarah with her very own backyard garden report. Take it away, girls.
Thank you, Leon. The flowers are popping up everywhere. From tulips to daffodils to daisies, the whole yard smells delicious. But with the flowers comes the carpenter bees, which are once again nesting in our wooden fence.
And the dogwoods are in full bloom. Dogwood winter is a short cold snap that typically lasts about a week. Right when the dogwood trees are blooming, Native Americans used to watch when the dogwoods were blooming as signs to start corn and other crops.
Actually, we just started to plant our garden. In fact, while we were weeding, we pulled out what we first thought was a weed, but turned out to be something that could be pretty expensive. Can you guess what it was? I'll give you a hint. It's native to Appalachia.
Moonshine.
No, it was actually ginseng.
That was my next guess.
Anyways, I was watching my yard from my bedroom window when I saw a large shadow sweep over the ground, just beyond where my yard meets the woods. Then I saw the bird that owned the shadow, a red-tailed hawk. In a quick movement, he flew down, directly behind the garage. The next thing I saw is the hawk flying in the direction he came from, holding a long, motionless snake. I watched the hawk land in a large tree and eventually fly away to where I believe he has, and has had for the past few years, the nest.
Speaking about birds, a robin has been making her nest right next to my window. I can watch her gather grass and straw and fly around the house to my window and apply it to her nest. The female builds the nest, but the male often gathers the material.
That's it for this month's Backyard Garden Report. This is Ashlyn.
And Sarah.
Thanks for tuning in.
Well, I know what that sound is. It's that time in our show where our cast comes together to share their deep thoughts and reflections in a little piece we like to call...
At my age, I don't take naps outside anymore. People start reaching for their shovels.
I hate when I lose things at work, like my pen, my self-motivation.
Once you leave the frosting off a cupcake, all you have is a muffin.
I'm looking up in the sky and I'm wondering which cloud has all my data.
I remember when selfies were called, nobody else wants to take my picture.
Men have feelings too. For example, we feel hungry.
I like wearing glasses because I like to dramatically take them off before I say something profound. Doing that with contacts somehow doesn't have the same effect.
The best way to get a man to do something is to suggest he's too old for it.
I decided to improve my day by going to Dunkin' Donuts and ordering my coffee in the voice I use for my dog Snuggles. I would like a little latte. I would like a little small latte. Yes, I would. You should try it sometime.
I think the refrigerator is a clear example of what's on the inside that matters.
I'm not saying I'm old, but all of my candy dishes have Tums in them.
If I'm ever on life support, unplug me. Then plug me back in and see if that works.
I scream, you scream, we all scream because Leon forgot his hearing aid.
Fish who are caught and released are the aquatic equivalent of people who claim to be abducted by aliens.
You keep asking me what my birthday is at the pharmacy. I think they're planning a party.
Okay, that's enough of that. Time to get back to more stories about spring fever. Right now, it's time to check in with the Boone Creek boys and see what kind of spring fever takes over in Gray.
I was asked to do a eulogy for Herman Cox a few years back. He was a fox hunter. Fox hunters started their hunting in the spring and it continued through the fall. Fox hunters hunted 2 nights a week. My twin brother and I represented the 3rd generation of fox hunters for this night's hunt. We were 10. My granddad, Brian, was in his 60s. Uncle Paul was in his 50s. There was Spence Potter, Jim Little, Uncle Bob Kiefhofer. The middle generation was represented by Herman Runt Cox. Never figured out that nickname. He was the biggest in the bunch. All in attendance were equally enthusiastic, though my brother and I were rooting for the dogs to actually catch the fox, which the older generation knew wouldn't happen. Smelly foxhounds and men crammed into pickup and car and drove a short distance to a ridge where the hounds were released. We drove to the next ridge and set up camp. In near darkness, gazing over tree-lined ridges and plush, hill-locked valleys with streams, hearing the night symphony of crickets, frogs, night birds, breathing pure air and the scent of honeysuckle. We were overcome by majesty where there is never a question about there being a God. We anxiously awaited the sound of the chase, some enjoying the moment so deeply as if holding their own child or grandchild, contemplating the question, is this what heaven will be like? Will it be this good? The night sound broke by a yelp, then a howl, then a chorus of its own, growing, then waning, as each hound in the pack recorded his position, followed by the owner's affirmation. There's Blue. There's Joe. There's Jake. Talk to him, boys. They've overrun him. Judy's got it back. It's taking them around the bluff. They'll be back in a minute. The mood swings from peaceful solitude to lively conversation, then just as quickly back. The hard day of work just completed is forgotten. The next day's tasks not even considered. Problems stored will be prayed about later. The God who made men and angels made foxes, foxhounds, and fox hunters. I believe heaven has a special place for fox hunters to go 2 nights a week, with tree-lined ridges, plush hill-locked valleys with streams, night symphonies of crickets, frogs, night birds, pure air, the scent of honeysuckle. Can you hear it? There's Brian. There's Paul. Here comes Herman. See him? Hear him? We was right. Heaven is that good.
Thanks, Leon, for another great story about springtime in Boone's Creek.
I've got a story about springtime at Appalachian State Teachers College. I was in my first year there when the war broke out in December of 1941. By springtime, almost every boy I knew had enlisted in the Army or the Navy. I met a fellow in town at a restaurant. I went out with him a time or two. He was a baseball player in the minor leagues, but he was drafted into the Army. All the good ones were drafted into the Army. We used to say, what is good is in the Army. What's left will never harm ye.
And all the boys who left for the Army, well, they wanted us to write to them.
And this young man, my baseball player, he asked me to write to him, and I said I would. I wrote to a few boys because I had 2 friends I'd gone to school with. I promised I'd write them too. But I wasn't serious about any of them. It was just something I felt I could do now that we were going to fight in this big war.
Yeah, it was what we did to keep up the morale in the Army.
We wrote letters. We were patriotic. Yes, very patriotic. I had a list of several boys from school I wrote to. All those poor old lonesome boys. Must have been a dozen or more. I wrote to all of them.
A dozen?
Floozy?
Oh, I was very patriotic.
I continued to write to the boy I'd gone out with those few times, my baseball player, and to my old schoolmates. Pretty soon that baseball player was stationed in Battle Creek, Michigan. My sister lived there. He wrote and asked whether he could meet her, and I said I didn't mind. Well, they met, and I got a phone call from his sister.
I need to see you. I have something for you. Can we meet somewhere?
This was sounding serious, more serious than I ever thought we had become. Now, this boy, he had never written a word of romance to me. He had never asked me to marry him. I guess he took it for granted. He had gone out and he had got called up. So many other couples. Well, when the boy joined up, they had a quick wedding before the heading off to war. But we never discussed anything like that. And now he's arranging all these family meetings. I agreed to meet his sister in the coffee shop, and I was nervous. She came with her husband.
Hello, Sue. I'm glad to meet you. I have something for you. My brother asked me to give this to you.
It was a diamond. I looked at it, but I never touched it. I thought it was over, and I told her, I cannot accept this. I will not marry anyone in service while this war is going on. We still don't even know each other very well. I just can't marry him after only a couple of dates and some letters.
Oh?
I could tell that his sister was upset, but her husband spoke up.
I think you were a wise person.
I felt so badly, but I had to do what I thought was right for all of us. So many people got swept up in the war and made decisions they might not have made otherwise. When I got married, I wanted it to be sure and solid, not desperate and rushed. I wrote to him and let him know that I would not be accepting the ring. We continued to write each other for a time, but later, the letters stopped coming. I don't know what happened to him. I hoped he was okay.
I remember a boy. I knew him well in high school. We were very good friends. Not boyfriend and girlfriend, just good friends. I wrote him every week, and he wrote back almost as much. He liked hearing from home, even if it was just about how many eggs our chickens laid that week. He wanted to hear something from his ordinary days before becoming a soldier and holding a rifle and marching through Europe. I admit, I looked forward to his letters as much as he looked forward to mine. Then one week, I didn't get one. Another week went by, then another. And then the telegram came to his mother's house. They sent home a package of his belongings, and there were 4 of my letters unopened. There wasn't anything much important in those letters. Stuff about the animals, the weather warming, and the redbuds blooming. I wish he could have known about the redbuds. See, we had a frost in the early spring, and the last letter he wrote me, he hoped the frost wouldn't kill the blossoms. That was 72 years ago, and I still think about him this time of year, when the redbuds bloom.
Oh, Katie, you did it again.
Did what?
It's halfway through the show. You got me crying again.
I know, me too. Those were some powerful stories that the ladies at the Appalachian Christian Village remembered. But the show's not over yet. How about we do another favorite segment? You know, the one where we sit back and remember an earlier time and say, I remember.
I remember when I was young. This was the time of the year Daddy would have thousands of chickens all over the farm. Daddy got in the chicken business before World War II. He bought the Betties when they were 2 weeks old. They put in a brooder and he raised them. And he put them all in the empty tenant houses in the place and the empty barns because there were no need for mules. Mules had gone away for the war. I guess the price of cotton wasn't economically feasible for him to plant it anymore. He said he sold the last for 5 cents a pound.
Anybody who's picked a pound of cotton knows the heartache of 5 cents a pound is.
After that last year of cotton, Daddy started getting brooding boxes. And before long, Daddy had several thousand laying hens. And I remember Mama candling the eggs in the basement. This was after the time the electricity came to the farm because she was using an electric light bulb to do that. He kept the eggs in the cellar. He put them in boxes. I think the box would hold 24 dozen. It was 12 eggs per tier, and I think each end of the box had 12 tiers in the box, so it was 24 dozen. He said he sold those eggs for $5 a box. Way better than 5 cents a pound. At $5 for 24 dozen eggs, he'd come home with a pickup load of groceries and money enough to pay the light bills and buy gasoline. And he didn't have to pick cotton.
Achoo.
Come on now, Lacey, that's nothing to sneeze at.
I'm sorry, I can't help it. Springtime in Jonesborough for me means a season of carrying around a box of Kleenex and never being able to see anything clearly because my eyes are watering from all the pollen. Perfect. How is that perfect?
She means you'll be the perfect contestant for the quiz show coming up next.
What quiz show?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting evening of When It's Springtime in Jonesborough Quiz Show.
I'm your host, David, and with me, standing next to these fabulous trips and prizes, is the gorgeous Dana.
Wait, what trips and prizes? I don't see anything.
Ha ha ha, such a kidder. Let me assure you, our listening audience, these are the most amazing prizes, aren't they, folks? Now, welcome to the show, Lacey. Dana, would you like to read the first question?
I sure would, David. Question number 1, Lacey. When it's springtime in Jonesborough, where would you find your jacket in the morning?
Oh, that's easy. It's hanging off the back of my chair at work because it was cold in the morning, but it was too hot to wear it on my way home.
Correct. You're good at this game. Second question.
Lacey, when it's springtime in Jonesborough, how are the temperature controls in your car set when you go home from work?
Again, that's a no-brainer. When I get in my car on my way home from work, the defrost is on full blast, full heat, because there was a sudden frost in the morning and I had to blast away from the windshield.
And part 2 of the question, how are the controls in the car set in the morning?
Air conditioning on full blast, because it was 75 degrees outside when I left work and I was having my own personal summer.
Correct again. Wow, you really are good at this.
Now, for double points. When it's springtime in Jonesborough, what do the blankets on your bed look like in the morning?
This one's a little tricky, but lately it's like this. The electric blanket is pushed towards the foot of the bed. The comforter is on the floor right next to the electric fan.
This is a lot more complicated than I would have expected.
Well, you have to be ready for anything in Jonesborough. Things could change at any hour.
You're absolutely right. Tell her what she's won, Dana.
Do I get the car? How about a trip?
You have won an all-expense-paid trip for 2.
Yes.
All the way.
Yes, yes.
To the downtown Telford Cafe and their all-you-can-eat Tuesday buffet.
Thanks for playing, and we'll see you all next time.
Thanks, David. Thanks, Dana. Folks, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to A Night with the Jonesborough Yarn Exchange on WETS FM 89.5 out of Johnson City.
We're back. And as we promised, Rockingham Road is back to sing a couple of more songs for us.
It's a story about somebody goes back to their home and the house is gone, but just kind of let it and listen to it as we go.